Hello, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Kurt. Welcome back to Far Lands or Bust. We've got some snow creeping into the hidey hole here, but we're back in Far Lands or Bust. Hey, Wolfie. Ooh. Oh, there's a creeper out there. See, it always pays to be a little bit careful. Could have just spawned right on top of the hidey hole. But yeah, we're back. Far Lands or Bust, episode 219. Grabbing Wolfie. Let's get rid of some of this excess stuff that we have here and continue west as we do. There's the sun rising. We're still raising money, obviously, for Child's Play charity over at farlandsorbust.com. We just passed $13,000. We're up to $13,140. Is that how you say that number? Yes, that's how you say that number. Am I the only one, whenever you write a check, and there's the little line where you have to actually write with words the check amount, I have to do a double take, like, how do you write this number? This is a strange number, and I'm not sure how to actually enunciate it. So, yes, $13,140 for Child's Play charity over at farlandsorbust.com. That's great. Thank you very much for the continued donations. As with the previous episode, we had a nice little, a little bump in the donations. That's great. And I do appreciate everybody's support for that. Getting toys, books, and games. Careful, Wolfie, that's a chasm. Toys, books, games to kids in hospitals around the world. It's a great cause. Everybody hopefully recognizes that. And similarly, this weekend, if I can give a plug for another Child's Play charity fundraiser, Minecraft Marathon is going on this Friday, February 22nd through Sunday the 24th. That's at, I think it's minecraftmarathon.org. I should have checked that beforehand, but I think that's where it's at. I know I've been put in contact, and I don't have any specifics yet. I still have to sync up with the people behind it and see if I will be on it. But I know for a fact that Good and Vintage Beef right now are booked to be on at 3 p.m. Pacific time, Friday the 22nd. So I'm going to have to find a way. They don't hand over the live stream just on as guests via voice chat. So that'll be cool. And there's little incentives, like I think if you donate $25, then you get on the whitelist server. So you could check that out. Like I said, Minecraft Marathon, and that's fine. It's all going to Child's Play charity. I don't mind if, say, you want to donate through Minecraft Marathon versus Far Lands or Bust for this weekend. That's fine. Fine and dandy. It's all for the same cause, so check that out. And also follow me on Twitter is going to be the best way for me to update you as to whether or not I will be and when I will be a guest. It would be cool to be on with Good and Vintage Beef, but I know for a fact that I am not going to be available tomorrow because I have to drive somebody to the airport. Woo! And as usual, the weather here in Chicago has decided, oh, you have to drive somebody to the airport? Blizzard! Winter storm warning. Maybe not a blizzard, but at least a winter storm. 7 inches, potentially. Right at exactly the point at which you need to drive this person to the airport. So, fantastic. I've got to find out a way to be like, could I just pay for a taxi to come pick you up and take you to the airport? You know, who knows what the flight gets canceled. I don't want to strand a person there, and of course it's during rush hour. When else would you need to go to the airport? Woo! A crevasse. Oh, right. Whoa, careful. Oh gosh. Okay, Wolfie is a little bit dangerous. Danger is his middle name around the cliffs and crevasses. But yeah, that's happening this weekend. So I'm not sure when or even if I'll be able to join that. But follow me on Twitter, twitter.com/KurtJMac. And that way you'll get the updates, and I'll let you know. That is this weekend. But regardless, I do appreciate everybody enjoying the last episode, episode 218, when I kind of went on a nice topic, a little segue, a sidestep, the St. Louis sidestep, about talking about fears and my interest in the psychology, the physiology, the history of fears and as an animal response and things like that, and how it affects present day, but also, you know, there could be issues with that and anxieties and stuff, and everybody was sharing in the comments their fears, and I feel like it's worth kind of separating. I don't know if I really made it clear what I was talking about as far as fears, like genuine panic attack causing anxieties versus, I know, oh, I'm afraid of spiders. Yeah, okay, yeah, I get that, but being just afraid of spiders versus being terrified and having a phobia of spiders are two different things. Like, some people go into shock if they see a spider versus, okay, I could say I'm a little scared of spiders. They make you jump and, whoa, where'd that thing come from? You know, and they're kind of like, ooh, I gotta smush it now, and whatever. So there's a difference. And I was just trying to point out that if you are the kind of person like me, there was a lot of people saying, oh, I hate making phone calls too. And it's like, okay, you don't like making phone calls, but are you genuinely afraid of making phone calls? Like, do you start to sweat and breathe heavily when you have the prospect of having to make a phone call? There's a difference, and I hope perhaps that the people out there who are the same way as me regarding stuff like that understand that they're not alone. And true, it's not to disregard those who just say that they're afraid to make a phone call. It's not to disregard their fear, but there is different levels, and to understand that sometimes just finding it an annoyance or just a slight fear is a lot different than going into a full-blown panic attack over a certain situation or this or that or the other. So there's different varying degrees, and they're all, my main point is that they're all valid. The fears you are feeling are valid. It's just whether or not the degree of your response to it is proportionate to the fear response that has been conjured up. So that's what I was talking about, making sure that everybody knows it's a human trait, an animal trait, and it's all good. It's just how you can learn about it, and there's a lot of science behind it and a lot of understanding. Oh, hey, guy. Speaking of fears, gotta go. Interesting. It's always weird. I always tend to forget that mobs can spawn, like, you know, on our peripheral here without us even knowing it. Just as the world is spawning. And why? There's something going on here. The world is kind of spawning rather slow. Might have to defrag my recording hard drive, 'cause sometimes that does it. Hello, world. Let's spawn in front of me. This is starting to remind me of how we used to play the game on my old computer. I didn't even have it on far... Oh, I need more wooden planks. Far render distance. Indeed. I do have another thing, another topic to talk about this episode that's going to... It might take up the entire... episode. I've got notes! I took notes and planned things out. It's a little bit of an outline. But I think I'll start after the sunset here. Oh, dang. I guess we're just gonna... What a waste of a boat. Holy Moses! The thrill-seeking sheep. You, sir, are a gentleman and a scholar. It's going cliff diving. What's that, not the wingsuit thing, but, base jumping. There we go. The base jumping sheep. Almost like Wolfie. Wolfie apparently likes base jumping, although he doesn't quite take into the safety aspects as that sheep did when he jumped into the water. That was awesome. Oh gosh, sorry, excuse me. Let's make it to that peninsula, I guess. Make our elevated hidey hole. Actually, this right here seems like it already wants to be an elevated hidey hole. There's already a nice dirt tower on it. Let us disembark. Wolfie? Disembark? No? Nothing? And a boop. And a boop. And a boop. And a boop. And a torch. And that. And I think it should be dark enough. Woof, it is. And awakeness. And where did my boat go-ness? Yes. Alright, so yeah, I do have a topic. Obviously, today is Thursday, the 21st. Yesterday was a little bit of an interesting day in gaming news. Woof, it was. The folks over at Sony had a press conference, an event, and the announcement of the PlayStation 4 came about. As a bit of a prologue, whatever the word I was looking for. I didn't watch the entire thing from beginning to end. I kind of was jumping in and out, and then the streams, oh, there that stuff goes. The streams kept freezing, and I kind of gave up and made dinner at one point, and then came back. It was a long event. At the beginning, they were like, we hope that over the next few hours, we'll be able to share with you our concepts and blah, blah, blah. Few hours? I didn't sign up for a few hours for this thing. It was just supposed to be a small press release thing. But I do have some thoughts and a little outline of notes I was taking while watching. I also experienced it via Twitter. All the witty jokes and comments that came through via Twitter. That was a kind of a fun experience. It's always fun for that stuff. I just think overall, let me start out by saying I'm not a journalist. I'm not in any way even an industry reviewer, I guess you could say, or anything like that. So these are just the opinions of a guy with a YouTube channel. But I personally am not a fan of the direction that these tech companies are going. Obviously brought about by Apple. And when Steve Jobs was around, obviously the biggest one was when they first announced the iPhone. These media events where there's a stage and this guy giving a presentation. I find it really awkward. Obviously, these aren't consumers or fans who are in the audience. These are journalists that have been invited from newspapers and blogs and things like that. People of industry, the industry elite, I guess you could say, who are in the audience. I find it very awkward when they applaud. Don't you? Like when they introduce, say, the new this thing or that, or the controller, they showed off the controller, and then there was like some sporadic applause. I'm kind of like, wait a minute, you guys are supposed to be the journalists, the critics. Why are you applauding this thing that you don't know anything about? It's a little bit of a weird dynamic. They try to turn it into a theatrical show almost, and like I said, that's kind of been, everybody's starting to be inspired by Apple's success with that, and Steve Jobs is obviously a guy who kind of turned the press release, the press preview event into a spectacle event sort of thing with teasers and, ooh, hush hush, this is the big reveal, you know, the big, like the car show, removing the curtain at the car show for the New Year's models or something like that. So I don't know. I don't like it too much. And yesterday was just a reinforcement of such things. But let me just go down my list of things that I have. First of all, I was pretty quiet about the whole thing on Twitter. Until I started making fun of how people were dressed. The tech industry and the gaming industry are not known to be the most best-dressed people in the world. I understand that. That's no problem. But I started making fun of how some of the people were dressed. There was the one guy, or I think it was the second guy who came out. He talked quite a while. He had this crazy, greasy mop hairdo, but he was wearing a shirt that was incredibly loud. And it was weird because it matched the theme, like the color scheme of the PlayStation 4. But the weird thing is it had these contrasting collar and cuffs, and it reminded me, I don't know how many of you watch Modern Family, but Cam, who's the son's boyfriend, always wears shirts like that, with like strange contrasting cuffs and collars, and it's like, no, that is not a good idea. that just looks weird. So I had a good time to make fun of that guy. But then the guy who came out after that, the basic, it was the business casual hip gaming industry apparel, I guess, was the blazer and jeans look with perhaps sneakers and no tie. One guy came out and I'm like, what's wrong with this guy's jacket? It looks weird. It had turned out he buttoned the bottom button. It was a 2-button jacket. He buttoned the bottom button, but not the top button. And I made a comment about that, and obviously everybody came back, oh, fashion consultant Kurt here. Sorry, I have these 3 feathers. I'm going to try to grab some, what is it? Flint, to make some arrows. So far, watch out, Wolfie. I got a shovel upside the head. But that was my angle for jokes for the rest of the thing, was making fun of how people were dressed. It's really not that difficult. I don't know why. It's kind of unfortunate that the tech and gaming industry does kind of have this casual jeans and t-shirt and sneakers kind of persona, even in the professional, and even, you know, this was obviously, like I've been saying, it was an event. It was kind of a formal event, and these people didn't know how to dress. I mean, even the simple fact that, okay, sure, you're wearing a blazer. The rule is, there's rules on how you should button your blazer, by the way. The rule is, if you're wearing a 2-button blazer, which is the kind of standard get-up, you never button the bottom button. I think that goes back to... There are reasons for this, but it goes back to one of the kings... like hundreds of years ago, one of the kings of England was kind of fat, so he unbuttoned his bottom button of his jacket so that he could fit his stomach in it. Wolfie! Uh-oh, what was that? Hello? There he is. How'd you hurt yourself? Weirdo. And a boop. And then, you know, the rest of everybody else in the king's court unbuttoned their bottom button, and it just became a thing. Anyway, there's reasons for all these rules, but that's the rule, and it was just the opposite of the rule. Like, maybe this guy had heard that you're not supposed to button one of the buttons, but he wasn't sure, so he buttoned the bottom button. Butta, say that 5 times fast. Butta button, butta ball, butta ball, butta ball, butta button. Brrr. So that was an interesting thing to make fun of. So yeah, and as someone, and this comes from the perspective, for those of you who've been following me for a while, know that I kind of, holy crap! Oh! Oh! That was dangerous. Speaking of base jumping, geez. I just happened to feather the W key enough that I fell in the water and not on the block. Whew! Alrighty then. I've in the last year or two taken a, ooh, this is interesting, taken an approach of starting to, as a hobby, I guess you could call it, to take care and pay more attention to the clothes I'm wearing, and following different men's style blogs and things like Put This On, and there's a whole Tumblr hashtag related to it, you know, menswear. So it's kind of a hobby I've taken up, and taking time to buy things that are, oh, made in the USA and a little slim fit and stuff like that, whatever. So that was the angle I took on the whole making snarky Twitter comments about the conference. But yeah, that was one bullet on my outline of notes. What else is going on? I mean, just overall, and one of the reasons I kind of lost interest and kind of just like went away to make dinner and then came back and continued to watch it is it just turned out to be just like a series of gameplay trailers, which is fine, I guess. I mean, they focus. That's obviously what sells a console, is the games that are either exclusive to it or what the hardware can provide in terms of the special effects of games and things like that. But it became kind of, okay, why are we all watching this conference when we could just watch these game trailers later on YouTube or wherever else they upload them, you know? It's kind of like, why did we all need to gather and have these people introduce their game trailers, really? And it kind of seemed like quite a few of them, I'm a little bit skeptical. While they tried to make it seem like these are all in-game footage, it seemed like some of them were renders or CGI animations that they just put an overlay of a heads-up display on to make it seem, oh, this is actual live gameplay footage. Especially the first one, what was it, Kill Streak? Kill Zone? Whatever that series is called. Careful, Wolfie. It looked fantastic, but it all looked like a cutscene simply by the movements. It didn't seem like it was the kind of movements that you expect in an FPS. You know, they were all too fluid. It seemed like it was running on rails, is what I'm getting on. So I'm a little bit skeptical whether or not any or most of the stuff we saw yesterday in the gameplay footage was actually real in-game footage. So anyway, let's go to sleep and we'll continue talking about the PlayStation 4 event in the morning. And a PlayStation-ness. Right, Wolfie? Wolf! He knew I was going to ask before I even finished asking. So yeah, that, while interesting, was mildly concerning. There was also a racing game. I forgot what it was called. It was kind of the second game they showed, but they very much touted, oh, we wanted to... It's the first-person racer, so you're in the cockpit with a wheel in front of you. We want to allow you to just like smell and experience being within these supercars, and oh, you open the door and your character gets in and buckles his seatbelt and this or that. But then they showed the gameplay footage, and it really, there wasn't much racing or driving going on. They kept jumping in and out of menu screens, like, your friend has challenged you to a race, and you go bloop, 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 and they show the menu screen, and then they jump into another car suddenly that is doing a race, and then, oh, share this footage with your friends, and, you know, all through the menu screens again. So the majority of that gameplay trailer was just jumping in and out of menu screens, and I can't see that as being an enjoyable way to play a game. I want to race from point A to point B. I don't want to be stopped halfway through and have like a you know, attention deficit disorder, and oh, I gotta go challenge somebody else to a race right now, even though I'm in the middle of a race right now. Come on, let's go and let's share this on Facebook. Blah, 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 blah. So that was kind of disappointing, and that's another game that seemed, even though it was supposed to be in-game footage, it seemed a little bit pre-rendered and running on rails. So there was that. I think the only one that really was exciting, even though we've heard about it before, was Watch Dogs, which is developed by Ubisoft, however you say it, Montreal. And actually it's in collaboration with some of the team from Reflections, who make the Driver games, who are behind the Destruction Derby games and things like that, which is one of the few development houses that I like to support. Obviously, I'm a big fan ever since the Destruction Derby games and then the Driver games and things like that. Obviously, Driver San Francisco was a really good game, I thought. And it's an open-worldy kind of alternate future cyberpunk reality thing. Oh, I don't have enough... Oh, no. There's no trees. I'm in a desert. Careful, Wolfie. Yoink. Careful, don't... Oh, no. That's more desert over there. Hell's blazes. There's trees back there, but that's kind of a long walk. Alright, let's go this way a little bit. I don't feel like swimming that far. Also, it's the desert, so I gotta be careful of cacti for Wolfie. But Watch Dogs, one of my friends showed me the first trailer for that a while ago. And it takes place in Chicago, and the one thing I noticed right from the get-go in the gameplay was just the simple... Ooh, I think that's a spawner. Just the simple sequence of the character, before any of the action starts, the simple sequence of the character walking through on the sidewalks of the streets of Chicago. I'm like, they really nailed the feel that you get. Like, this is how it feels like to me to walk through the streets of Chicago. It's kind of... even though it's a big city and it's all these giant skyscrapers and stuff, they really captured it's a little bit claustrophobic. I'm not a big fan, by the way, of going to downtown Chicago a lot because of that feeling. It's kind of claustrophobic, kind of loud and echoey. You're kind of in an echo chamber between kind of these massive buildings. And I know a lot of people like Chicago for the architecture and stuff, but what a lot of people don't realize who haven't been there or who haven't been on the streets is that the majority of these old buildings, all of the sidewalks are pretty much covered by scaffolding, kind of temporary scaffolding, because all the facades off of these old buildings keep falling off, and giant rocks end up hitting people on the sidewalks below. So you can appreciate the architecture and the skyline from afar, but once you're actually in Chicago, you can't, because there's all these scaffoldings and the L tracks that are kind of blocking your view, and I think they really captured that. I can smell the alleys from within the video game, it seems. So that was something that first struck me about Watch Dogs. So I'm actually excited about that. Obviously, they announced that it's going to be released on the PS4. There's also going to be a PC and other console versions as well. But that's a game, aside from the next Tomb Raider coming out next month, that's a game that I can say I'm interested in seeing how that one develops. Kind of an open worldy, doesn't at all seem. I know the guys from Reflections are somewhat involved. Hello, random tree, but it doesn't seem like it's really too concerned about driving aspect. So it's more. A lot of people are comparing it to kind of like Assassin's Creed sort of thing, and you're kind of walking around and you're kind of a rogue guy and you can tap into people's phones and blah, 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 blah. Open world adventure action, almost cyberpunk film noir-ish sort of thing going on. So that one, like I said, I didn't watch the entire thing, but that seemed like the only trailer they showed that was actually in-game footage. The rest of them seemed kind of a little bit staged, a little bit pre-rendered, but yeah, Watch Dogs was interesting. And it was also funny, because the whole theme behind Watch Dogs is everybody has these cell phones, and they're always sharing things, and that's exploitable, and this guy can hack into your accounts and change this and that, and take this money, and the government is watching, and blah, 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 blah. It's all, this dystopian future thing. And this is right at the same time as the PlayStation 4 guys are all announcing, oh, you'll be integrating with Facebook and your social media things, and you'll be sharing and sharing and sharing, and it's kind of, okay, this is kind of an odd, the game, the art is kind of conflicting with the platform on which it's being released. And I don't know if I was the only one. This was early on in the presentation where they were announcing all the sharing features and things. I kind of winced a little when they said that, they would be connecting with Facebook. I'm like, Facebook isn't exactly well known for protecting your privacy, and now suddenly, if you own a PS4, it's going to know all of your games that you're purchasing, and all of your friends who you play games with, and your histories and stuff like that. That didn't seem too nice, and the thing that also kind of threw me off was they're very much touting, oh, you can play a game before it's finished downloading, and it's all about speed. Just, okay, buy this game, and you can suddenly start playing it. And then they started talking about how it will predict your patterns and what games you like, and will start to preemptively download content based on what it thinks you're going to download. Like, I don't know if I like that. I disable, I don't know if it's still a feature, but I remember Firefox and Chrome, some of these browsers have that predictive pre-downloading. Like if you search on Google, your browser will actually start to download content from the page that it thinks you're going to click on to visit. I disable that stuff because A, it kind of wastes your bandwidth and slows down whatever you might have going on in the background, but also it's kind of, I don't want to be doing that, I want to tell you what I'm going to do. I don't want you to try to predict what I'm going to do and then stuff like that. So that was kind of weird. I don't know if I like that too much. But to be honest, I'm not going to be buying a PlayStation 4, so I guess it's not up to me or my problem at all. So yeah, that was kind of weird. And another thing, speaking of sharing, they really emphasize sharing of your gameplay footage. Like, you can rewind and share, like, the last 30 seconds of your gameplay with friends and things like that. And they're partnering up with Ustream to have just built-in, you can built-in live stream your games, which it was kind of funny that Twitch was live streaming the PlayStation event. I don't know how the executives and people over at Twitch TV felt about that, but it seems a little bit like the at least from the presentation, these executives and these people behind PlayStation are a little bit behind on the times. They're a little bit a step behind, because one of the things they said, oh, today the big thing is to share your screenshots of your games with your friends. Tomorrow, with the PlayStation 4, it will be sharing gameplay footage. And I kind of laughed at myself. I'm like, they don't really understand what's going on with actually the Let's Plays and things on YouTube and stuff. And I kind of laughed at myself. I'm like, really? They don't know that for the past 2 years, just myself personally have been doing this Let's Play thing and the sharing and the making a career of it. They feel like right now it's sharing screenshots is the thing all the kids are doing. It's the in thing right now, and they're the ones who are going to bring forth the gameplay footage on Ustream and sharing and stuff like that. So I have so much more to talk about. I have like bullet points and stuff to go through. So, haha, special 4-day episode of Far Lands of Bust, simply because I cannot be brief about these topics I'm talking about. Woof. Wolfie understands. Let's, whoop, careful. Careful, Wolfie. I don't know why I like making these things on, like, the precipice of a giant cliff. I should make them a little bit more safe. Here we go. Down to 1 torch. Let's place the bed and go to sleep. Oh, I said let's place the bed and go to sleep. And a 4-day episode-ness. Indeedness. Woo. So yeah, that was kind of a weird thing. I'm not sure how to react to it. I'm sure, like, my initial reaction was like, oh no, I'm out of a job. You know, if everybody gets to be able to record just automatically built in without having to mess with any external recording device or fraps or things like that, if they're just automatically able to record and share their videos, how does that impact what I'm doing as a job right now? Then I thought about it for a little bit, and first of all, in the entire conference, there was no mention of YouTube. So I don't think, it does not seem like they're going to have any integration with YouTube. It seems more like social sharing within their own proprietary social PlayStation 4 platform, or the Ustream thing. So I think the YouTube Let's Play infrastructure is safe in regards to that. Obviously, there's still a lot of time before the PlayStation 4 is released, so things could change, but I think we're safe in our little ecosystem as regards to that. Then I kind of started to think, well, maybe once this thing gets released, and if in fact it becomes a selling point and people get excited about making their own gameplay videos and sharings and things like that, perhaps there will be a surge of people doing that, but then they will realize how actually difficult it is to make a proper gameplay video, and how it's more than just recording the last 30 seconds of your footage and uploading it to wherever. There's a lot more, let alone technically, with editing and proper formats and things like that for what we're doing professionally on YouTube, which still makes me giggle a little bit and pinch myself, but also what in regards to commentary and the deep commentary voice and personality that comes with your favorite commentary specialists. Commentary specialists. Sounds like some sort of somebody you'd see at a doctor's office. Yes, you need a referral from your your physician. But maybe that would be a good thing that would come out of it, is people would realize, okay, maybe this isn't, you know, push the share button on your new PlayStation DualShock controller, and suddenly you're a famous commentator. So there's a few sides to that coin once I started to actually think about it, and it'll be interesting to see. They did spend a while talking about that part of the feature of the PlayStation 4. Which was interesting. It makes me think that they're behind on the times, but they're also trying to catch up with the times, which is, I guess, a good thing. So, who knows? Who knows? Watch out. Another thing they mentioned was their cloud gaming. Their emphasis on cloud gaming, specifically with the back catalog of PlayStation 1, 2, and PlayStation 3 games. So they've basically confirmed that you're not going to be able to pop in your PlayStation 3 games or 2 games or anything and just be able to play those, but you will have access to the back catalog of games via cloud gaming. Of course, the big question is, are you going to have to buy your games over again that you might already have? To have them via this new cloud gaming service. And does that mean all the games are available, or probably just a select few? And it's kind of one of the reasons, to be honest, if I can go into my own personal thoughts about the console gaming industry. The last console I own is a PlayStation 2. And the reason I never upgraded is because they removed that backwards compatibility. That was one of the reasons I liked the PlayStation 2, is because I had a big catalog of PlayStation 1 games, because I had the PlayStation 1 for quite a while, and I didn't get a PlayStation 2 until it was out for like a year and a half. So it was nice to be able to, after you're done playing a PlayStation 2 game, to pop in Destruction Derby 2, because I still have it, or Tomb Raider 1 on the same console, and play it there. When they removed that feature, I think even in later versions of the PlayStation 2, but then in the PlayStation 3, that kind of like, well, I don't like that at all. I'm not one to have 4 different consoles hooked up to my TV, and it's kind of, I mean, I'll admit it, it's kind of not like the one deciding factor, but one of the reasons I kind of, cracked my voice. I kind of got pushed away from consoles and back into focusing more on the PC gaming. Not only, obviously, can I keep up to date with current hardware and upgrade the computer and things myself, since I build my own computers, but obviously I'm running into some issues now. I can't play games like Toka Race Driver 3 like I wanted to, or things like that, because of DRM, but, I was still able to play NASCAR 2003 or whatever, so, or even via way of emulators, which I've never really gotten into. They seem a little bit too complicated for me to wrap my head around, but emulators, you can play games with blah, 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 blah. So, it's interesting to see where they go with that concept, with having a limited back catalog available via cloud gaming. I'm assuming you'll have to buy your games again. There's no way, I don't, a lot of people think, well, maybe if you pop in your disc from your old game, it'll say, oh, you own this game. Now you can download it via the cloud thing. I'm like, well, that doesn't make sense. They wouldn't allow that, I don't think, because then everybody could just share their old Destruction Derby 2 disc, and everybody gets it on their PlayStation 4, so who knows? That was kind of strange news, especially since there's a lot of news about the next Xbox not even allowing used games. So what? Okay. So we'll see how that goes. But again, not really a large concern of mine personally, because I'm pretty much off console gaming. And that's another thing. Speaking of consoles, they didn't show the console, which I guess doesn't matter. I know they gave the specs. It's basically, what they were saying is it's basically a PC. We made a PC that can do all the things PCs can do, only it's a console. Here you go. So, further blurred is the line between PC gaming and console gaming. And people have said, oh, maybe it'll be a good thing for PC games because now developers are going to develop these games around more of a PC architecture, and it'll be easier to just port things over to PC or from PC to the console, and it'll... A lot of times games that come out on PC now are not so much limited by PC hardware, but they're limited by the console hardware that they also have to make sure is compatible with. So perhaps there will be a little bit of a jump in terms of the quality of PC games once the PlayStation 4 and other next-gen consoles are released. Who knows? So that's an interesting thing. But they never showed the actual console. So I could see why they didn't need to do that. But also, in terms of marketing, that's a weird approach. I mean, you don't introduce a new car but not show the car and just talk about its engine and features, you know? I mean, who was it? Infinity. Infinity will tell you that. When Infinity was launched, they had commercials come out, but they're all artsy and they never showed the car. While at the same time Lexus came out, their competitor, they showed the car, and Lexus obviously is a lot bigger name now than Infinity. And that can be related back to the marketing. And as someone who took a lot of advertising and marketing classes, that was a big topic, and something that we studied was that whole debacle. While it's nice to be different and to choose a different approach, sometimes it's the wrong approach and will hurt you in the end. So yeah, well, I don't know. It doesn't matter, but I think it matters. It doesn't matter to us saying as like the more... those of us who are already hardcore into the gaming industry and gaming and whatnot, because we know what the specs mean and whatever, but to the casual gamer, they probably want to know what this thing on their shelf is going to look like. And if you don't give them an idea, then they can't imagine it being on their shelf. If you give them an idea, if you show them a picture, they've already purchased it and placed it on their shelf. They already see what it's going to match with and things like that. So, I don't know. We'll see how that pans out, I guess. And of course, the last bullet, which I'll talk briefly about. I try not to get too political, or really, I try not to dangle the carrot in front of the trolls, but there's a lot of news going around that there was I guess I could say this more bluntly, it was a sausage fest. The entire conference, there was not a single woman presenter, even though there are plenty of female developers and executives in the gaming industry. Not a single female presenting at the PlayStation event, and that's not Sony. It's not saying Sony is sexist or anything like that, but I think it is a reflection of the industry, and it certainly has been a hot topic recently in the gaming and, I guess, geek culture industry, is the inclusion, or exclusion rather, of females. And this right here was just a direct example of that. If anything, sure, it's not necessarily... We're not blaming Sony or the people who are up on stage, but we are pointing the finger, kind of a what's the word I'm looking for? Retrospective? Introspective finger at ourselves, at the industry. Not only is it a problem as far as the consumer is concerned, the girl gamer news and inclusion and things like that, but it goes all the way to the top, all the way to the people who are making the games. It's a cultural issue that hopefully this sparks more of a discussion about it, and by discussion I mean educated, non-trollish discussion of matureness and actual facts, as opposed to opinion and stuff like that. So it was an interesting thing, and it's something I noticed right away, and kind of a bad thing to say. I almost expected. I'm like, I don't expect any female presenters to come up here because it is a industry-wide issue, and I guess we'll see how that plays out. Like I said, I'm not an expert on this stuff. I'm not researched in this, so I don't want to just start talking and not know what I'm talking about. So yeah, I think that wraps up all my bullet points. See, I couldn't even fit it in a single episode of Far Lands of Bust. I had to extend it by a day. But I hope you enjoyed this little chat. As always, I'm a PC gamer, so it makes no difference to me whatsoever. But it is related to the industry, I guess, and we'll all be affected by it. And it's interesting to see this news. But this is a PC gaming person you're talking to right here, and that's the way this channel will continue to go, I suppose. So anyway, thanks so much for watching this episode of Far Lands of Bust and kind of following along with my ramblings and random thoughts on the PlayStation 4 events. You can keep going to farlandsofbust.com to contribute to Child's Play charity, or click on the little button on the end slate, or stop by the Minecraft Marathon this weekend. I'll let you know on Twitter if I'm going to be a guest on that or not, or what's going on there. So I'll help in the good cause that is Child's Play charity. I appreciate it. And until next time, my name is Kurt. Dang it, I always say that and it messes me up. What should I say? Until the next episode, my name is Kurt. I will see you next time. I still gotta work on that. Whatever.